Listen, if you play Warlock and do not know who are these people on this podcast right now, you have some serious problems. Nah, I'm just kidding. Welcome to a brand new episode of Mocast. You know, it's Warlock time. We have to get into it. Talk to the boys here, because when was the last time we had a Warlock podcast? I think it was like last year or something. It was ages ago. And changes have been, plentiful.
Oh, yeah.
On the beta. Well, first on the alpha, then on the beta. And finally, we get to talk about a couple of these. Not going to get too much in depth with it because it's not the time right now. Probably changes will still occur.
Things will probably still happen.
Yeah. But without further ado, we're talking about Warlock today with Mr. Sjele and Mr. Kalamazi. Hello, guys.
Hello.
It's very, very interesting times for them as well, especially for Kalamazi, who is like way far away, and also Sjele, who is quite early up in the morning. But regardless,
yes,
we're gonna get into it. I mean, I think the boys need no introduction. As I've said, if you play a Warlock, regardless of spec, and you don't know who these guys are, come on, man, come on. But let's get into Affliction, okay? Let's start off with Affliction, because I think it's like the freshest out of the specs who got in. We also made a video about it. Flame was excited as balls. I have not seen him this excited since he probably came to Earth. And man, it's looking good. I mean,
we were there for that when he came to Earth.
I talk with his mom from time to time.
Like I'm not going to comment on that. The government has the secret files. It's locked away.
All right, let's get into it. So, what was like? We're talking about the freshest builds, right? We're not talking about the first iterations and all of that. So, what was your first impression, I guess? Your first feeling is like, Affliction is looking great now. It's looking not that bad, not that good. How was your first thoughts on it when you saw like the latest changes? Anybody can jump in.
You go, Kalamazi.
All right. So Affliction went live in a really weird form. The right side of the tree is more like Mythic Plus, like Council, Cleave, Base, all that kind of stuff. And that works pretty well. The left side of the tree, though, was a pretty big disaster. You had abilities like Malefic Wrath, which is a legendary from retail right now, which affects drain soul damage. You had Decimating Bolt in the Clash tree. You had, what else do we have? Another single, Death Bolt back from BFA in a different form, but a lot of really just convoluted abilities that were strong in their own form, on their own, but had very little synergy between one another. And it was just a 20 button bloated kind of spec where you just couldn't maintain it. It's had some changes though. I think 3 weeks ago, they ended up removing Death Bolt, removing Malefic Wrath, removing our 4-piece, which is part of our tier bonuses in the tree. It's gone now. And a few other things, and they streamlined it, basically they're doubling down on Malefic Rapture being the spender, but they added some abilities that increase the damage of your dots when you rapture a bit. So in single target. And there's some that can be a thing in AoE too. They rebuilt Creeping Death, which is very cool. So yeah, it's much better. It feels similar to what it is on retail now, but dots matter more, which is what everybody's wanted. So
they did some let's say so-called fan service with the recent changes for sure. I know a lot of the Affliction community was like, okay, we need that dot, that rot over the old targets back, and I think that's mostly for the good. But what about you, Sjele? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I haven't really had time to look at the previous iterations, but the current one that we have now, I think the 4 set is still in. Calamitous Crescendo. I like it.
Yeah, whichever one that
your Shadow Bolt has a 30% chance.
Yeah, that one,
the one that gives you instant rapture is still there. I think, at least on Wowhead right now. But I think that the tree in general, it feels very synergistic with each other. You have it feels like you have this left side build and this right side build that are more single target or dot cleave oriented, and then right side is more Seed of Corruption with Sow the Seeds, extra seed damage, and Soul Flame oriented. But I actually quite like it, except with the exception for one talent that I think is absolutely awful, and it has to go away right now, preferably yesterday. That is Soul Tap. Have you seen Soul Tap?
What don't you like about it? I mean,
okay. So for those who might not know what Soul Tap is it has no cooldown. It's an instant cast. It's on global. You sacrifice 5% of your soul leech to gain a soul shard. Now, your soul leech, 5% of your soul leech is nothing. Like, that's no investment. Which essentially means that you have infinite soul shards. Now, while this might sound like a good thing, it breaks the rotation completely, because it means that you are going down a tree that puts a kind of an emphasis on Shadow Bolt or Drain Soul, where you have like Nightfall, Shadow's Embrace, a Drain Soul, and all of these things that proc from you actually casting your filler, right? While all your dots are active. But you just don't cast your filler, because you just cast Soul Tap and then you cast another Rapture. So that's like my the only thing that I think is really, really bad right now about the Affliction tree is that. The rest I'm pretty happy with. Like you get all the way down to the bottom. You get stuff like Death Blossom, which sounds super cool for Cleave. You can go on the right side, get Sow the Seeds, Vile Taint on the right side of the tree now applies Agony as well. Super cool. And you can have that in combination with other abilities, right? You can have combination of talents that we have now in Shadowlands. You can have combination of multiple of those in Dragonflight, which I think is really, really cool to see. So,
yeah,
just with the exception of Soul Tap.
What do you think about if they put a cooldown on Soul Tap, like 30 seconds?
Yeah.
That's what I think is the best solution, right?
Either remove it or put a cooldown on it. More than 10 seconds. I would probably say 30 or something.
Well, sure, yeah.
Whatever cooldown is better, but it cannot be no cooldown as it stands right now, because you go down a tree where you have Nightfall, Shadow's Embrace, Drained Soul, and a Calamitous Crescendo. You guys could probably put up some graphics, and you just don't press the button, which is not a good thing.
Yeah, it's felt pretty odd.
Withering Bolt as well. Withering Bolt, the conduit that we have now is also in the tree. So, it's so many things that buff up your Drain Soul that you never press, because you just press Soul Tap and then another Rapture.
Yeah,
one thing people are excited about is Soul Swap too.
Right.
That's terrible. It's really bad, actually.
Yes, Soul Swap is a weird one. If we're going to go there, because it doesn't apply Siphon Life if Siphon Life is talented, which I think it should. And it costs 1 Soul Shard, which means that you lose 1 Rapture, and that kind of means that you only gain 1 global in a burst scenario. You don't gain that much.
The cool thing is that it used to be on the far right side of the tree, but they moved it central and put it like a diamond around it, so you can totally skip it. Like they know it's bad, just put it in the middle. And It used to be different back in the day, where you could like inhale dots from one target and exhale them with like Soul Burn, Soul Swap. But like this is like a jank version of it that just it's there because it's iconic, but it doesn't really do anything. I don't really see it being taken in probably any setting. The vast majority of them, it's not worth the talent point and the Soul Shard cost.
I think if it applies Siphon Life, if Siphon Life is talented, then it can have some value, because you gain 1 more global. So getting full dots instantly on let's say an add in a raid that you really need single target burst on at that moment can be a thing, but it's very niche for sure.
On the topic of Soul Swap, because it is one of the things that caught my eye initially when it was put in, but it seems like it's still working the same way. It's if you have let's say Unstable Affliction already out on a target and you Soul Swap to another one, you cannot have 2 Unstable Afflictions anywhere. So realistically, and if you're like you said, it doesn't put a Siphon Life, and if for whatever reason you're running Absolute Corruption, it doesn't really put Corruption either. So all it does is swaps Unstable Affliction, makes it instant, and puts an Agony. So it feels a little bit lackluster to probably what people wanted, which I don't remember if it was called the same, but where you like copy the dots off from one target and put it on a second one. I think that's the old spell. I think I might have caught a little bit of playstyle with it. But what do you guys think of Soul Swap if it also applied a second Unstable Affliction and you could only get that second one with Soul Swap? Would that make it too overpowered? What do you think?
Well, you would be able to get a 3rd and a 4th and a 5th as well, right? Because wait, no, it has 30-second cooldown. Never mind, I'm stupid. I'm thinking about the old Soul Swap that you just like.
Yeah. I mean, Like,
Yeah.
in addition to all that, it doesn't apply Siphon Life, it doesn't do that. It also applies Agony at like 1 stack or 4 too. So your Agony's not even ramped up when you cast it. So there's even more.
Oh, really? If you're on Ride, it doesn't apply?
It's 4. It's a 4 stack Agony or a 1 stack Agony without Writhe. It's baseline duration or baseline stack. Like,
they could make it just full stack Agony with Soul Swap.
that'd be a lot better. Yeah, I mean, they would help
cool.
for sure.
But
that might
the multiple unstables, maybe it wouldn't be that OP.
I mean,
like one more unstable every 30 seconds at the cost of a shard. It would have cool synergy with the Soul Rot part of the tree that gives you CDR on your Soul Rot when Unstable Affliction deals damage.
Yeah, there's also that talent in the far left side of the tree, Malefic Affliction, that leads into like the final row that affects like targets that have their UA on it. So like that could give you like that council cleave every half a minute if you wanted it with Rapture.
It might be too OP. Like thinking about it, it might just be too OP. But it would be cool to see it, I think.
Well, you guys are the raid experts, because when I looked at it initially, and from what it does, it feels like it would be cool. I'm thinking of what's the boss name, Dosagni or whatever, right? When the ad spawns, you can instantly put all the stuff on it and blast it. So it was a little bit weird that it takes Unstable Affliction away from the boss. Maybe they can put like a 1 minute cooldown on it. And yeah, I was thinking of the Malefic Affliction as well. But right now, I don't know what the mechanical purpose of this would be. In Mythic Plus, I don't really see a lot of value of it. And in Raids, if it takes away Unstable Affliction, considering that now you have a few more mechanics to manage the value of Unstable Affliction on a target, because I don't know, if you're playing Raids, I would imagine you take Dread Touch. We can talk about that, because I did have a question about that as well. But yeah, it feels a little bit weird. Maybe they have a different version of it that they plan on iterating. I don't know what you guys feel. But since we got to this topic, I did want to address something that, for me as a noob Warlock, caught my eye the most is Dread Touch, the bottom left capstone on the choice node with Doom Blossom, where you put more power into dots, considering that they've subsequently said in multiple times that they don't want dots to have a lot of power anymore. But I think Shadow Priest has something similar, where for a short amount of time, the dots tick harder, and it feels like Affliction is getting something like that as well. What do you guys think about this? Am I hyped too much about it? Is it something that you're gonna really want on raid bosses?
I think so. In like single target, so it's interesting. Without getting like too nerdy or in depth, if you can, like, the left side of the tree, Creeping Death is an ability that leads into an ability called Malefic Afflictions, and that leads into Dread Touch. Creeping Death was changed about 3 weeks ago. It used to have your dots tick 15% faster. So like they expired 15% faster, essentially. It was changed, so now they occur 15% faster, but have the same duration. So it's basically like a mini Rapid Contagion from PvP, that talent in PvE. It's a really strong ability, and it's not anti-synergistic with like Raptures and things that want you to have dots up, for a longer duration and things. Very cool. Good change. So like that leads into Malefic Afflictions and then Dread Touch. Dread Touch seems pretty strong. If you rapture more than 3 times, you apply a buff to the target that makes you take 20% more damage from all your dots for 6 seconds. I think it's Blizzard trying to feed into that playstyle of people wanting dot damage back and rot damage without being like, okay, we're going back to UA being your spender like everybody wants. Because like, if you go back to like Legion, where like dots were 90% of your damage, right? We had Malefic Grasp back then, which is sort of similar to Dread Touch. It was like a single target damage increase, but like when 90% of your damage is dots and you're really good in single target, barring a huge like talent modifying how good you are in single target, probably just OP in like cleave fights, like Coven of Shivara, 2 target, 3 target. And it's hard to balance, but they've made this into like a single target kind of ability where it buffs it if you have, your UA on one target and that target takes more from your dots. So I think it's pretty cool. It's like a concession to feeding into like dots doing more damage without like saying, all right, dots are like 100% of your damage. I'm a fan. So
yeah. So Creeping Death, just making your dots tick 15% faster. Do you know if they reverted the thing where it made you gain 50% less shards in order to have the same shard regen with or without the talent?
I'm not sure.
Because that's the way it is. That's the way it is now, right? Where your agony ticks 50% faster if you have it on live right now in Shadowlands. but you gain the same amount of shards. So they reduce shard regen by 50% on the agonies you have out. That being said, like let's just assume that it's the same for now until we get more information. The only thing I have a problem with is that I think 3 stacks of Malefic Affliction is too many stacks. Just on the specific thing, like the ability itself is cool. Like you put up your dots, you cast you cast 3 raptures, right? And then I'm guessing that it's gonna be like a sustain buff you can keep up, or how does this work? Because I haven't been able to test it.
Yeah, so Malefic Afflictions is a permanent buff you put up. We're not sure if it's bugged right now, but you can move your UA from one target to another, and it leaves the effect on the old target. So we're not sure if it's a weird council play kind of thing, but when you hit 3 stacks, it's permanent. You can refresh UA, and it doesn't clear the buff. It stays at 3. So theoretically, you can just open up on pull, Rapture window, like proc Dread Touch a few times, just maintain 3 stack and Rapture once, and you have the effect rolling.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to test it. So I was under the impression that it was like every time you UA'd, you needed to press 3 raptures to get the effect. But it's I mean if you just get 3 stacks after 3 raptures and it stays forever, then I mean you're essentially just doing 20% more dot damage to that target perma, right? Which sounds OP. So I'm happy.
Dread Touch lasts 6 seconds, so you have to like Rapture once every like 7-8 seconds to maintain the buff. But with how shard gens felt, you can mostly do that and still have like 4 shards for a Rapture window every minute. So it feels pretty good. Yeah, it makes dots matter more, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite Malefic Wrath, right?
Yeah,
where you rapture to maintain a buff, but the buff doesn't do anything for your Drain Soul. It does stuff for your dots instead.
It's like a weird Malefic Grasp kind of variation. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah. I like it.
I wanted to ask you guys one more thing, considering that you also have your specific Warlock audience, and I've been hearing this, and I was actually surprised when I heard this. People not being big fans of Summon Dark Glare, and maybe I can understand that. I am a fan because I like demons. I don't have real friends in real life, but they did add a new capstone, a choice note with Wilfred's with Grim Reach, which is something that I'm super stoked about. And with this, with all in mind, what do you guys think of Dark Glare and its potential upgrades, either both in Raids and in Mythic Plus, or maybe only in Mythic Plus? I don't know in which situations you would guys talent into it as it stands right now. So what are your thoughts on Dark Glare and the mechanics going into it?
So Dark Glare, Dark Glare is powerful in combination with Soul Rot, I think. Because you just extend, like it makes Soul Rot essentially do way more damage because you get to extend it like every second or every third time, depending on haste levels with the other talent that reduces Soul Rot cooldown based on unstable affliction ticks. So there's a lot of like different synergy tying into the Dark Glare. But Wilfred's, I think we can just say that's trash for now. As Affliction, but the Grim Reach one, as you said, is super interesting. And I did some just initial napkin math yesterday, together with the other talent that you have to go through, the Entoran plating, to get to that talent. And it's like your Dark Glare on 8 targets is gonna do 140% increased damage to the main target. And then it's going to do 70% of its base damage to all targets for 50% extra duration, right?
It does 50% of its damage to all enemies affected by your dots. But I mean, it's also increased by Entoran plating. And
but I mean, like the duration, the total damage of your Dark Glare is going to go like it's going to go boom boom.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Have you tested it on alpha or on beta at all?
I haven't. No, I have tested it, but I have not looked at the damage numbers. I logged in like 3 weeks ago or something. So it was not on the latest build, and I just had a look at how it felt to play.
It's bugged right now. If you pop it, it'll pull every mob within 200 yards.
Oh yeah. I noticed that because I was like hitting the AoE dummies on Orgrimmar, like the 3 in front, right? And then I was like, wait, what's that over there?
It's like killing spiders off in the cave. Like
yeah. So that's obviously that's. I don't think we need to worry too much about that. That's should get fixed.
Yeah, most likely.
And surely, it doesn't go live like that.
And I do want to ask one more question about this, because obviously we can debate tooltips, and if something turns out to be too OP in the way that they worded in the tooltip, I'm sure that they won't have a problem changing it. But the way it sounds right now is obviously Dark Glare deals more damage the more dots your target has, the target that you cast it on. But from reading the Grimreach tooltip, it doesn't seem like that same mechanic applies to the cleave. So it feels like it's kind of snaps its cleave from the main target. So you just have to have, like, I don't know, Absolute Corruption and all the other mobs, and they still take the same amount of damage. It wouldn't matter how many dots you have on your AoE targets, right? From the wording of the talent. So as long as you have
Dark Glare works so that you, like, it counts any dot on any target towards the main. It's actually, when you play Affliction right now, Dark Glare is actually a pretty good funnel, because it actually just nukes the main target. Because you have so many dots out on multiple things, and then Dark Glare gets like a damage buff based on, like, the wording of it. Dark Glare will serve for 20 seconds, blasting its target for shadow damage, increased by 10% for every damage over time effect you have active on any target. That's the wording.
All right.
So it actually is pretty good synergy.
Yeah, which like Soul Rot will feed into even more as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It brings a really good funnel. Sort of how I'm not as good as like Sub Rogue, but they had that similar profile. You can like harvest resources from mobs that have, dots on them and blast one prior target down. So it's a good ability. When I was testing it on like 5, I dropped like 5 turnips. And I was testing Grim Reach, like in Ouroboros, away from the critters on the ground. It was doing like 12% of my damage, Grim Reach. And the Grim Reach and Dark Glare, like IBM damage, are separate. So, like, adding them together, it's like 17% of my damage. It was actually pretty solid. It looks really good. So,
and that's going to go up on more targets, because your other sources scale linearly, while this one will scale exponentially, because the more targets you do to each. So
it's
more
really
damage
cool.
you do to each.
Very cool.
And maybe to kind of round up the most of the Affliction things, I did want to take your guys' personal opinion on this. With the changes to Vile Taint, which kind of slipped my eye for some time, what is the favorite thing that you think Affliction got? Because it feels like Affliction got a lot of work done to it from its basic playstyle and certain mechanics and how it works. I don't know if compared necessarily to Destro and Demo, but at least compared to other specs. And I'm actually kind of excited. But what are you guys most excited about Affliction in either raids or dungeons or both?
I think Affliction has a pretty good like potential dungeon kind of damage profile, like talent build. Vile Taint was changed to apply Agony whenever it resolves or you want to be casted on mobs, plus the actual Vile Taint effect. It also applies Curse of Exhaustion, which is really cool, because it leads into an ability below it called Sacrilash's Dark Strike, which is a legendary effect. This
Slow Rings back, baby.
Yeah. Legion, like when you would perma-slow mobs, this is a perma-slow. It was nerfed in a recent build, because like it would just last, it came nowhere near close to falling. But if you put 2 points in Sacrilash's Dark Strike, you have essentially a permanent slow on whatever mob you Vile Taint. I think Taint's capped at 8 targets, I believe. 8 targets, yeah. But you can play around that, you can make it work. It's a perma slow on these mobs if you're playing Sacrilash. Plus Sacrilash increases corruption damage anyway. So Vile Taint, like having the option to like precast a seed when the tank's running in, cast Vile Taint, and just start going, like put up your UA or Soul Rot, whatever, and just blast, that's huge. Instead of having to go like precast seed, agony. It's miserable. Yeah. You go 1, 2, 3, and just Dark Glare's cranking with Grim Reach. It's a really good damage profile and a lot of utility in plus. I think this build of Aff, you have Soul Flame 2, Aff's incredibly bugged right now, so no one's playing it really. Like, you can't really play it. But this version of Aff is like, I think, really sleeper right now. And you'll see it a lot in dungeons coming up whenever that happens on beta. The utility is wild. So
the problem I see with it is that it like you go right side with it, which means that you're essentially sacrificing a ton of single target. So when it comes to like dungeon gameplay, just pure AoE, like it looks really good, but it's like a lot of dungeons, like when it comes to like Mythic Plus and stuff, like later on, it's not gonna be just about the AoE output. Like you want basically specs that can play the same thing, and it's their best AoE and single target for some reason. That's the specs that are usually the best. when it comes to Mythic Plus and dungeons. And I have a feeling that you won't be able to go this deep into that side without sacrificing too much single target on the left side.
It's possible.
So,
yeah.
But the changes to Vile Taint and Sacrilege and all of that, I'm a big fan.
So does this mean, is there like potential new room for Affliction in the new season for Mythic Plus, as opposed to like what we're seeing right now with Destro and I would say even Demo? Is there at least the potential? Not saying it's going to happen.
I mean, there's potential, but
yeah,
like
toolkit's there.
The toolkit is there, exactly. Destro is nearly just as wild on beta as it is retail right now, though. So I mean,
because I was
pretty good.
I was gonna get into that. Just like maybe touch a little bit on the other specs as well, because we know like season 4 we know Destro, even after the nerf, Destro is still reigning supreme in Mythic Plus. And looking at it right now with what happens in Dragonflight, it tends to seem to be the same way. It doesn't really look like it's gonna go anywhere. Maybe there's some competition from other casters, but in terms of like the Warlock specs within, how do you guys feel about it? Just like at least from what you saw. I know you didn't like Sjele didn't play a lot of the beta, but I'm pretty sure he heard stuff and looked at stuff and all of that. Where do you guys sit on the current situation for Destro and Dragonflight?
I mean, you get a lot of stuff back that we had previously. Stuff like Rolling Havoc for multi-target scenarios. Obviously, it's depending on tuning, but Rolling Havoc used to be like the most OP thing.
Was that
back in BFA?
BFA Azerite trade, right?
Yeah, Azerite trade, exactly. And this is a very toned down version of it, I think. Just looking at the numbers, right, like on beta right now, I believe it increases your in damage by 2% for 5 seconds, stacking 5 times. But so you essentially build up to a 10% damage increase, which is a lot. But I think Rolling Havoc in BFA was actually more than that, like in terms of the stacks you can get. And I don't think. Seconds. And it lasted longer. Yeah, and it was not capped, right? Or it had capped at 10, right? Yeah.
You could get it like that with Flashpoint and everything. Like it was like 10 stacks in 2 seconds or whatever.
Yeah. So it was it's a toned down version, but it definitely feels like you have a very much like AoE side and then a single target side again. Like I think it's something that goes. It's a reoccurring theme with these talent trees for Warlock, that you have like one side is mainly focused on AoE. What in Destruction's case, you have Rain of Fire. Obviously, you have to take that on AoE. Pyrogenics increases Rain of Fire damage. Inferno, even Fire and you can go for Inferno and Fire and Brimstone now, that's a cool combo. But it's like it's all AoE, and then on the left hand side you have like Soulfire and Ruin, Decimation. Like it's a lot of eradication. All that stuff is on the left side. So it's hard to know exactly where everything is going to land. But AoE potential looks like you said, Kalamazi. Maybe you've seen some dungeon gameplay or played it yourself. It looks bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, what you have on retail is what you have right now, pretty much. Like you have Inferno. The far right side of the tree at the bottom, the capstone, is your 2-piece or 4-piece from retail, like your tier. You have the same thing. Your Chaos Bolt's not instant cast; it's like half the duration. But I mean, if you're in AoE, you're casting Rain of Fires. You have Crashing Chaos in the left side of the tree with your Inferno, which you can like just launch like 6 Chaos Bolts back to back with that thing. It makes them cost 1 shard. Your range costs less. In the middle part, like you already have Inferno. You have Flashpoint, which is back, the huge haste amp from 100 to 80% on mobs. You can proc it like an ad spawning. So you have your 2-piece, 4-piece, Flashpoint, Rolling Havoc, Inferno, Crashing Chaos, Fire and Brimstone if you want. They removed the shard generation part on Fire and Brimstone. It's very bad. Very unfortunate. Okay. But I mean, you have Embers of the Diabolic Raiment in the bottom 2 for 100% shard gen increase. And they changed Madness as well. Madness is here, but it affects Rain of Fire and Shadowburn now also. So like, you have basically the same thing on retail, but damage amps through Madness, Crashing Chaos. You have Flashpoint to do it faster, Rolling Havoc to get it like just this bigger damage amp. I play with it. It feels like retail. Like I'm happy with it. It's good, but yeah, Destro has a lot of really customizable builds, like in single target and AOE. There's a weird like internal combustion build, which is like not worth getting into now. But a lot of effects that are really cool. Some placement of talents is a little awkward, but overall, Destro is really customizable. And I think when testing begins, like dungeons and like raid testing, as long as the builds are tuned properly, Destro is going to be like jack of all trades. It can single target, 2-target, AOE. It can literally do it all. It's really good.
Yeah, it just feels like they took the retail version of Destro and added cool things from BFA as well, like Roiling Havoc, and I think Flashpoint was also a BFA trade, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember that being tough, especially in April.
It was Crashing Chaos, yeah.
Crashing Chaos as well. Yeah. I mean, it looks 100% a very, very potent candidate for still being a super meta all the way, no problemo. I don't know about like, is it now a choice between, because obviously you're gonna have players who prefer like, you know, playing more Affliction. That seems to be a little bit more dare I say it, skill cap. Other than, I mean, I wouldn't say like Destro is bad in that sense, but I remember the days when Affliction was like the dominant spec in like almost all content. And I feel it's a good thing that they're amping up the other specs. Then we'll get to demo shortly as well. But as far as like potential remaining feedback for Destruction Warlock, is it still a case where, I don't know, maybe they can just switch a couple of talents, or is it like, how do you guys feel? Is it like complete in the way it feels right now? Anything that you would add or change at all for it, or just keep it?
They need to move Flashpoint. So I don't know if you can pull up a talent tree or not here. They need to swap Flashpoint and Scalding Flames. Having Flashpoint as like a central talent feels really weird. It's like, it's okay in single target for the first fifth of the fight, then it's just dead. Scalding Flames is way off on the right side of the tree in the AoE section. Like, it goes like Inferno or Kata, Fire and Brimstone into like, increases the damage immolate by 13% for 25. Like, that's a central trait that is good everywhere in single target and AoE, because you're going to have some rolling. Flashpoint was there and they moved it. I don't know why, but they're both 2-point traits. I'd like to see Flashpoint back over there. If you want Flashpoint, you're getting it. But Scalding Flames is like a great middle ground trait. Immolate's basically active everywhere. And if it's not active, it doesn't matter because like things dying in a second. That's a weird swap. They also have Dimensional Rift at the bottom, which, I don't know. Have you looked at Dimensional Rift and Chaos Incarnate stuff, Sjele, or not really? Or
I've not been able to play it at all. But I'm just like the only thing I'm sad about is that we cannot have Reina Chaos and Wilfred's. I want those two. That's like my bread and butter. But I think we'll be fine.
Wilfred's should be in the class tree, but I mean Wilfred's is in the spec tree for every spec.
Yeah,
but it's a hybrid node. But I guarantee they don't want to have Wilfred's and Rain. Wilfred's a Reign of Chaos. Then for Demo, Wilfred's a Reign of Tyranny, and like Dark Glare in Wilfred's too. But
that's fun. Just like
I know
those kinds of synergies are always fun to play. So just like tune the numbers down so it's not super ugly, right?
And the capstones in the class tree, you're not getting into it, are bad. Most of them are pretty bad. Like Wilfred's in the class tree would be great. Tuning around that, it's a great thing to do. The last thing though is like Dimensional Rifts and Chaos Incarnate. We have to see tuning on them. Dimensional Rifts are cool. They're iconic. They're from Legion. They're really, really awesome. They're part of the class tree. They made them part of the spec tree. The unfortunate part is I feel like Chaos Incarnate is a really good ability. I could be wrong. It depends on tuning, but it could very well skew things, like just even gearing wise with Destro. Like getting max mastery value every time with your bolts and like Shadow Burns and Rains, which are also affected by Madness, like the node above it. I would assume the majority of the time is better than popping a Dimensional Rift, barring them being overtuned. I'd love to see Rifts as their own like node somewhere. Because as of right now, I mean, it depends on tuning, but Chaos Incarnate just seems really good compared to like what Rifts can bring.
I mean, it increases master value by 50%, right? Because you always on average, you will get anywhere from like the base value to 100%. So you will go from like here to like here.
But it literally says you always gain max benefit from mastery.
Well, yeah. But like what I mean is that like you will go on average without that talent. You have 50% of that's the baseline,
Right?
And then you have another 50% that's random. So on average, you will land on 75%. So I guess like now you will gain 25%.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah.
Of mastery.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious, like, this is a sim thing. I'm not getting into stat weights and stuff, but I'm just curious to see, like, if it skews stat weights to the point where, like, with Chaos Incarnate, you want to stack mastery and it's the best build versus, like, oh, you want crit haste or whatever. Got to see where tuning goes, but it's an odd pairing. I like to see them decouple. But, yeah.
I was gonna...
I'm really wondering if we will see some AoE builds where you just don't press Immolate and you have Embers of the Diabolic plus Fire and Brimstone.
It's weird. Like, they trimmed the shard gen from Fire and Brimstone.
But they have it still on Embers, no? Oh, you don't? Do you not get the value from Embers of the Diabolic on your Cleave Incinerates?
No. It's the same. I'm pretty sure it's weird because like you have like the initial shard gen when you cast your Incinerate on beta, and you have like if it crits, it gives you more later on. But like from what I've seen, no, it's just gone. So there's some weird FMB builds, but they're all just like really awkward. Like Burn to Ashes at the bottom is a complete disaster. That needs to be reworked, but Fire and Brimstone's a lost cause anyways. I don't like. It's not worth the extra half hour talking about it.
I just want AoE Chaos Pulse. It's all I
exactly.
want.
Easy fix right there. Just do that.
Yeah, just the AoE Chaos Pulse.
Wouldn't that be Cry Havoc? The upgrade to Havoc from the choice node top gate?
I mean, like back in the day, and like it was WAD. Like Fire and Brimstone was like baseline. It was toggleable. You could turn it on and off. And if you had a different capstone talent, it would make you just be able to AoE Chaos Bolts. Like not during your Havoc window. Like literally, just like whenever you wanted, turn FMB on. Cast Chaos Bolt for half a minute. If you have Shard Gen coming in, every Chaos Bolt's cleaving all the time. Never stops. Cry Havoc can be decent. Like, it's not bad. But, like, Cry Havoc is Chaos Bolt cleave. It's not like Conflict Rate or Incinerate. So if you're playing huge AoE build, if you're in AoE, you're not cleaving Chaos Bolts and Havoc. You're cleaving, like, Conflict Rates. Like, maybe, like, Incinerate or Immolate cast and stuff. It can be good in certain spots. On, like, cleave-based Havoc fights, it can be very good. But it's going to be sort of hit or miss, I guess. Similarities, but not the same necessarily.
It's gonna be like imagine a fight like Artificer in Sepulchre, right? In the intermissions, you have two big ads that need to die, but you also have Cleaver around. Like that would be a perfect example of where this would be like insane because you just pump Chaos Bolts into the two big HP targets or the bosses or whatever, and then you just cleave everything around it. You could also make a pretty good argument for the same being the case on SLG in Castle Nathria, Stone Legion Generals. Just put Havoc on the boss, nuke the Goliath, all the skirmishers around it on Mythic difficulty. When you have skirmishers, all the skirmishers will just evaporate from the cleave. So I think there's a lot of potential and lets you lean into more mastery and Chaos Bolt oriented build rather than Rain of Fire oriented builds. When you pick a Cataclysm instead of Inferno, stuff like that. So I really like the synergy of it.
If you want, like, if you're in like big Inferno build, you can just tab over to Pandemonium, which is the other node, like in that choice node. Increase Havoc duration. That's more conflict rates being cleaved, more shard gen, more everything else. Like that node fits both builds very well. So
yeah.
And I was
big fan.
Yeah, I was also going to kind of ask like a two-pronged question that addresses the bottom side of the talent here closer towards the capstone, because I can definitely feel when I saw Reign of Chaos and Wilfred on a choice, and I was like, all right, I see what you're doing here. And the way that they've spread out the talents, they don't want the tier set to have too many infernal talents. I think you can get summon infernal and 1 point into either Crashing Chaos or Infernal Brand, whichever one you want to get. You don't have enough points to go around. So my question kind of revolves around this thing. Mostly, what do you think about the capstones? Because this came to my mind when you guys talked about Chaos Incarnate, since I don't recall in latest years when you would get Mastery as Destro. And I would imagine, I don't know, if you want to pick in Chaos Incarnate, you would take Power Overwhelming as well. No? I mean, that sounds like what they would want you to do, because that buffs your Mastery as well. But if you do take Power Overwhelming, you have even fewer options to get any other capstones. So in that sense, what do you guys think of the way that they've arrange this bottom side tier list with so many 2-point nodes where you cannot take. You obviously, I don't think you can take Avatar of Destruction and Reign of Chaos or whatever, or Wilfred's. It sounds like it's going to be overpowered, but do you think this has to be this way? Otherwise, this becomes overpowered again? Or do you think that they should rearrange some of the talents to kind of give you a little bit more synergy or more options to spread the build a little bit?
So at 70, you can get full Avatar Destruction and full Infernal. But at that point, you have 2 points left. Yeah, which like you can put like in Madness or Embers or like Chaos Incarnate or Dimensional Rift, which are all abilities you want. So it comes down to like, is your...
Can you get down to Dimensional Rift? You can't.
No, you can't. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yes, you have 2 points left, but Dimensional Rift costs 3 technically.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like you can go like up at a point in Embers, which is solid, right? But then I have 1 point to put in, Madness Dazzle here. I can't put both in there, which is also really good in Cleave and single target. That talent's busted. I think it's really good. Like it's really awesome. It buffs every part of Destro. So you want that, right? So you say you put 2 points in there. You've got full 2-piece. You've got full like Avatar Destruction row, and you've got full like you go like Infernal into Crash and Chaos or Infernal Brand and then Reign of Chaos. But like you don't have Embers. You don't have Chaos Incarnate or Dimensional Rift. You don't have Power Overwhelming. So you're missing these things that are relevant here too. So you got to make a choice. Like Destro is really customizable. Chances they're decent. You might even want your 2-piece and 4-piece in single target. You might want like Power Overwhelming and Embers and Madness and like Chaos Incarnate versus like 2-piece, 4-piece. But in Mythic Plus, you're going to want that huge 2-piece, 4-piece AoE Infernal. So like it's hard to say. I think Power Overwhelming is actually terrible. I think it's a terrible ability. Like it needs to be able to be refreshed or something. Like you cap it at like, I don't know, like 10 stacks, it can be refreshed. Because like you reach the max stack for like a second and it just falls off. It's actually terrible. It's really bad. But yeah.
I mean, the idea is that it's a passive ability, right? You're not supposed to play around it.
Yeah, I guess. It's just like, I tested it myself and it's like, yeah, I get like a 1% mastery buff when I cast a Chaos or whenever I consume soul shards, right? But like it lasts 10 seconds. And whether, like even if I'm just spamming Rain of Fires or spamming like Chaos Bolts, like I reach like 5-6%. And then it just falls off. Like, there's no way to like refresh. I get they don't want a maintenance buff to be there. It just feels underwhelming. I get to like the max.
It's on the same tier of Madness, right? The Madness just flat 25% damage on AoE because you cast Rain of Fire at least every 4 seconds. So
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
It's not comparable. To me, it feels like you can go all the way down to Avatar of Destruction, straight down the middle through Master Ritualist. And Master Ritualist, it like brings it down to 10 shards, which is what we have now to proc the Ritual Rune. And then obviously you need your Infernal. I don't think we're ever going to not play Infernal. That sounds weird.
You always want it.
But, and then like Crash and Chaos, the tuning between Crash and Chaos and Infernal Brand can be discussed, right? But it feels like the Wilfred's Crash and Chaos, Infernal, and then straight down the middle to Avatar. And then you have 2 points over for Madness. Sounds like, to me, a super well-rounded build for like the bottom third, where you have AoE, you have single target, you have whatever you need. And I do think that maybe you would go Reign of Chaos for single target because you don't have as much shard gen. But then again, I don't know. Like it's weird. I think you would go Infernal Brand together with Reign of Chaos or Crash and Chaos together with Wilfred's.
Yeah.
Because that's like the most synergistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's customizable, right? And like that build brings good single target. It brings good AoE. I mean, you have essentially that same build on retail right now, but you literally also have Madness buffing Chaos Bolts, which is like a legendary we have now. We can't play with Wilfred's or with it's just good. It's super customizable. My worry is that we have all these cool talents and synergies, and it's just way undertuned because it's like, it just ends up being too strong. Like I hope the tuning is right. If it's tuned right, Destro is really good. It's a Swiss Army knife, but it all depends on tuning. So.
And one last question, since this is something that I kind of wanted to see in the game as well. Will you ever play Soulfire? And I guess we can address Shadowborn as well, because like you mentioned, you can get Avatar of Destruction and Reign of Chaos, but you have to path through the middle, right? Is there a different way to get it? So then you'd probably never take any of those talents. And even if you don't path towards the middle, do you ever take Soulfire and Shadowburn, or one or the other?
Soulfire is good, just solid. They added an ability to it, like that leads out of it, called Decimation, which reduces the casting of it by 5 seconds whenever you conflagrate or incinerate a target that has 50% or less health. You're like casting Soulfire every 20 seconds or something, maybe even short. I guess right around there when a target's below half health. It gives you a shard. If you have it, it gives you 2 shards. It applies Immolate, and it just does good damage. Plus, it's coming right out of the Roaring Blaze node. Pound for pound damage-wise, I've tested it. It's worth casting. So yeah, you'll cast it for sure. It's weird. It's been on a row. It's like Soulburn or Soulfire and some other abilities now. Like
Shadowburn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you take Entropy, I think, over them, right? On retail, I think I mix up the rows all the time, but it's not a bad option. But you have Soulfire, Shadowburn, even Channel Demon Fire, all as like nodes right there, like 1, 2, 3, and they're all good. They've just been overshadowed by better abilities on retail now, like Dark Soul and Soul Conduit. They're gone now. So yeah, I mean, you definitely take Soulfire. I think you take Channel Demon Fire in single target. Yeah, like Roaring Blaze is like the second or third option in the spec tree. But like that's like a capstone. That's like almost like an N tier talent for Destro on retail now. It's not as good. It's fallen out of favor due to like scaling 2-piece, 4-piece effects and stuff, and the scaling of the expansion. But it's still good. And Soulfire is a fire spell. So yeah, you def take it. I think so. Yeah.
All right.
What I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you go down the left side of the destruction tree, and suddenly it's like you don't even pick Rain of Fire. Like if you're on an actual single target fight, or let's say like a 2 target fight max, where you just don't press Rain of Fire because you're spec'd into like Chaos Bolt heavy builds with eradication and stuff like that, then like suddenly you can pick everything on the left side, and you got all the good stuff.
Yeah, like even Shadowburn leads into Conflagration Chaos, which is like you might not take Shadowburn if you're playing like a Havoc fight. It depends. Like a fight like Kel'Thuzad with Average spawning, you're gonna want it. Conflagration Chaos is cool, but I mean, like the one thing having to go through Shadowburn to get it just might not be worth it at times. But so I'm saying Destro's super customizable. You can build it for literally any scenario, and it's good.
Yeah, so, but exactly like you pointed out earlier, like I see now, just looking at the tree, that Flashpoint being in the middle and having to go through Flashpoint to get to Ashen Remains.
Yeah, like what is that?
Ugh.
Like puts
I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, it's just dead in single target past 80%. But
if you go down the left side, you kind of have to go Ruin, right?
For the most part, I've made a million different builds, but for the most part, yeah, I believe you grab Ruin. I don't think some builds I think I skipped Ashen Remains actually in a single target build because like you have to go through Flashpoint to get it.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at now as well. I'm like thinking I get all the way down to where I want to be through the middle, but because the Incinerate shard gen is gonna be pretty big, I think.
Yeah,
on single target. Sure. Yeah, on single target. So you just go straight down the left side, and then you kind of like lean over.
Yeah, essentially.
on the bottom.
Put a weird floater point somewhere. But yeah, I went like Ember's Madness, like just built my Infernal. You can even like juice Infernal up with like both Infernal Brand and Crashing Chaos if you want. Like you can grab that.
Right. Yeah, but you cannot go over to Ritual Ruin this way.
No, you can't.
Basically, if you want Ruin, right, then you cannot go over to Avatar of Destruction.
Yeah.
That's I don't like that, but.
So I'm saying it's odd, right? But
I want to basically I want the talent trees to be in a way that you have the 3 different sections, and almost no matter what you pick on like the top or the middle, you can kind of pivot over. That would be like I would love to play Ruin and Avatar of Destruction if I want to, but right now I can't. Right, so there are some things that I would like to see improve. Like I don't know if you could go from Madness to Avatar. That would probably not make sense because it's tied into Ritual, right? But yeah, it would be maybe there's a solution for it, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, they have addressed in the past different types of pathings for different types of specs, and maybe Mage is one of the better example. Maybe not Frost, but adding one extra path can probably change the whole talent up. But one, and I looked at it initially, and I'm looking at it now. Destro seems to like you said, like a Swiss Army knife. It seems like it have the answer for everything, and the tuning has to be just right. And if it is, it's gonna be so fun because you can do so many cool things. And I think this is a good example of why these talent trees are so awesome, because they can enable so much versatility and freedom of play. And you know, you like this legendary or like that Azurite trait back a couple of years ago, and you want to play with it, and you can make a build around it. And I think that's pretty cool. I hope they don't break it down or make like certain capstones irrelevant because they're not tuned properly. One
thing we should mention before we move on, because really quickly here, I don't want to drag it out.
Sure.
Grimoire of Sacrifice is by Abyss too. At this point, and it's really sad because it's way off on the right side of the tree.
But isn't it super overtuned? Like the damage of it?
No, they changed the class tree. The abilities like buff your pets. It's like Wrathful Minion and Demonic Inspiration. When you fill a shard, it increases pet damage by like 5%. When you fill a shard, it gives them like 5% haste. But they literally made it so if you play them and sack your pet, each one gives you a 15% sack buff, and it stacks. Sack hits like 4% harder than your pet does now. So and it hits 4% harder than your pet with the actual buffs on them from the class tree. So sack's like just crazy overtuned. But it's way off in the left side of the tree or the right side of the tree for Destro, like way off over there.
I don't like that. I think Sack should do the same damage as the pet. Like Sack should do the same damage as pet, because then you don't have to take it. But if you really don't want to play a pet, you can just go there. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Warlock. Every Warlock spec is a pet class. Has always been a pet class, and I think that's a good part of it. Like you have your pet utility, pet's positioning and movement, and the gameplay is part of it. Like it's part of the Warlock legacy, so to speak. And if you just make it mandatory to remove that, I think that's a bad thing.
It turns into Lone Wolf and Lonely Winter,
which are both better than Sack.
Yeah, a lone destruction. That's the town that's gonna be renamed to. Well, I guess we covered most of the things. Destruction has been, ever since the Warlock has been put into alpha and now beta, probably the most complete talent tree. However much of a fanboy I am to demo, and we're gonna get into demo now. I hope they don't mess it up, because it's looking to be one of the funnest talent trees, and it's always cool because Destruction felt a little bit simpler and straightforward for the longest time, and I think it deserves a little bit more intricacy that I particularly enjoy. So moving into Demonology. Now, before we actually talk about anything specific, since I don't know if this is going to be the final version, because they kept iterating on a couple of things, what do you guys think of Demonology in a general sense, and then maybe you can iterate on how you think it's going to perform either in raids or in Mythic Plus? Is it competitive with the other two specs or anything like that? Overall thoughts and opinions?
You go? Nah, you go.
Okay. The right side of the tree is busted. It increases pet damage by just so much. Like, you have like 4 abilities that just buff pet damage. Like Fell and Steel, 20% Fell Storm and Dreadbite damage increase. At the bottom, in Torn Armaments, your Felguard does 20% more damage, and Soul Strike cleaves. Command Aura, when Felguard's active, your Imps and Dreadstalkers do 10% more damage, and that's 2 points, so it's 20%. You have the Expendables back from Legion. You have you also have your 2-piece from now. You have your third dog, your 2-piece tier set. You have the exact dog build, FTS Dreadlash, all of Carnivorous Stalkers. It's all in this tree. Your pets just destroy things. You've got a capstone called Guillotine, which your Felguard throws his axe and it pulses green lava, and he just destroys everything. That side of the tree is just busted. The damage is wild. Like, it's really good. It'll probably get nerfed. Everyone's gonna hate to hear, but like, it's really, really good. Like Tyrants in the tree, obviously they removed Demonic Consumption and made a Reign of Tyranny, so it's similar, but like, it's really undertuned right now. It's not very good. The left side of the tree is more like Demon Bolt, or it's like single target based. They have the Demon Bolt build in there, sort of, but they cut Decimating Bolt from the class tree, so it's actually pretty good tuning wise now, which is surprising. It's like the best build out there in single target, but I think it'll get nerfed. The main like point of contention in the tree is like Nether Portal, Ner'zhul's Volition, and Gul'dan's Ambition. Portal being Portal. Ner'zhul's Volition being the thing that can summon more demons whenever you proc demons from the portal, and Gul'dan's Ambition being the Pit Lord. That's what everyone likes, either loves or hates at this point, and there's like nobody in the middle ground. They either love it or they hate it. And like Demo feels pretty good. I think most of the good feels come from the pet side of the tree, but once they tune like Nether Portal and things, I think you've got a powerhouse in your hands. with Demo, but there's a lot of like more intricate builds of like Wilfred's versus Rain for PI timings with Portal without. I could talk for an hour about. It's the most like, how do I word it? I don't know how it's going to turn out. Like there are a million different builds, and in the end, there's so many little intricacies we don't know how it's going to be. So it's customizable for sure, but it's overall good, just undetermined, I guess.
Like I'm a big fan of like I love Demo. I haven't. This is probably my least research spec coming into this this episode. So I'm not going to pretend to be like an expert on what's happening on beta, and like way more than me, Kalamazi for sure. But I am a big fan that they. I'm a big fan. I'm really happy that they decided to keep Dreadlash Karnstalkers in the tree. Like that. That's like the big jumpers just feel like a good thing.
Yeah, it's cool. They have an ability called Houndmaster's Gambit that gives like Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt I think a 6% chance at rank 2 to reset Dreadstalkers as well.
Yeah, I actually tried playing this a bit. Like I had like one dummy session or something, and it's hard to play around actually, because you always queue up your abilities, right? And then and then you get a proc, and then you have to cast Dogs again, and then you don't want to like. Do you stop your Shadow Bolt cast if you get a Shadow Bolt? You cast Shadow Bolt, you get a proc, you're already casting a new Shadow Bolt. Do you stop it? Like what? I
don't think you do, but like if you're in a Tyrant setup, you have to know like what you're doing when it happens. Like you can't like stutter. What do I do? Because things are going to expire. Like.
One change they could do is actually make it like the Affliction tier set bonus, where it triggers on hit, not on cast.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah,
because then you would have the ability to Shadow Bolt, and then it hits, and you loaded up another Shadow Bolt, but it's fine. You cast Dogs, and then the next one can also proc, and you just like roll.
That'd be cool, actually. Wouldn't mind that.
It would be like, I'm just saying that the chances of getting the chances of getting 2 procs in a row is 5% of 5%. So it's not very high, but it would be fun when it happens.
I can't get to proc in the first place, but yeah, sure. No, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about Doom coming back? Or it's not coming back, but how do you feel about like Doom? So they have Kha'Zix Final Curse Doom.
Do we have to pick it?
I think it's OP. It's black right now. You can't test it. Not Doom, but Kha'Zix Final Curse is below it. The Legion Legendary. Like he was played in single target a bit back then, and like with Wilfred.
Right. Yeah. Pet, I actually don't remember that one. I was F1 trick in Legion. Remember? I was just pressing C to grab. But yeah,
I don't know. Like that's what I'm saying. There's so many different builds. Like Nether Portal could be really good, but that means like you're a 3-minute class, so you get PI on pull, you get it at 6 minutes. If you're playing Reign of Tyranny, but if you play Wilfred's, like you have 1 minute Tyrant, but you have Portal at 3. It's really weird. It's going to be a sim thing. Like what's better?
Yeah.
Because you can't. I don't think you can fully commit like Nether Portal and Tyrant with like Kha'Zix Final Curse and Doom mixed in. Plus, you've got like all these pet traits in the side. They're just giga OP too. So,
but like you said earlier, like Cleave, you go down to Implosion right on the left side, and then you stop and you just go full right side after that.
I mean,
for Cleave,
for pet build, you can. Yeah, like they swapped Born of Blood and Shadow's Bite, the conduits, a build and a half ago. Like, it was really weird going Demon Bolt, Shadow's Bite into Implosion because like they're just like polar opposites. So you go Demon Bolt, Born of Blood into Implosion, but now you have to go if you want Grim Inquisitors. Demon Bolt, Shadow's Bite, Grim Inquisitors, like directly down. It's like Bolt, Shadow's Bite.
Right.
The way to fix it, just get rid of Shadow's Bite. It's not good. Like it's just boring. It's bland where you put it. I think this swap is better. I'm the minority when I say that. People hate this swap. I think it's better. You're always taking Born of Blood. You're always taking Demon Bolt, right? And you're going to want Implosion AoE build. Maybe there's a world you just don't take Grim. Maybe, but it's so hard to say without dog build being a thing.
Can we just move Grim and Doom? Doom is more single target focused.
You could. Where do you put Kha'Zix then, right? Like, I mean, you could. Yeah, I mean, you could. I wouldn't hate that actually. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, possibly. I don't know. It's a Blizz thing.
I mean, you could put Doom under Demon Bolt and then Kha'Zix Final Curse. Kha'Zix Final Curse under where Grim Grim is now.
You could.
That would be Kessex, and then move Grim over.
Yeah, I guess you could. That's actually not a bad idea.
But then you need a new talent under Grim, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Grim, Doom and Kha'Zix are 3 talent points, and Shadow's Bite and Grim are 2. But they could adjust it too, right? I mean, they've done that with Destro.
Or you could just put Rick through the portal in Kha'Zix, under the Grim Inquisitors, because that's synergistic, and then make something new where Rip through the portal is now. I think there's a lot of good options.
It's hard to, figure out what's best.
I just want to have all the things that give my dogs big damage.
I know. I just want to say,
you guys touched on Doom, and I am on the boat that I don't know. I'm not a fan of the way Doom is. Maybe because his duration is too long. Maybe because I don't understand the ability in and of itself. And I know you did a video on it, Kalamazi, when initially it was put out. And maybe with Kazakhs that could be good, but I guess it's a numbers. Is Doom ever going to be something in your playstyle that you would like to take? And I mean, I don't know. It's not something that I'm a fan of. I don't know what other people think about it, but what do you guys take on Doom?
It could be good. Yeah. I mean, like we said, Kha'Zix Final Curse coming out of Doom is, I think if people are sleeping on it right now. Everybody sees Nether Portal and Reign of Tyranny as like, this is our big single target, but like Doom brings more consistent damage. If like, the thing is, they've done a good job at making Wilfred's a decent option against Reign of Tyranny. Like with Decon there, it all depends on tuning, right? But like with how strong the pet build is, like so many just passive pet damage amps, 3 dogs, everything else, like having that minute tyrant versus a minute and a half means longer durations of dogs, more frequent buffs like your pet damage. It also plays well with Doom in Kha'Zix Final Curse, right? So like from what I've tested, Wilfred is the better option over Reign of Tyranny in basically every setting right now. Just due to how strong the pet build is. And even when they nerf it, it might be like with your 3rd dog with like the Grimoire Vial-Fiend synergy, or just like the normal pet build, right? Reign's under tune, but like there's synergies with Doom, Kha'Zix Final Curse, something else too. I forgot what it is. Something else has synergy too, like which is pets being active more often, right? So it's hard to say. Like it could just be in the long run Reign of Tyranny, like the new Decon. It's just too strong. It's just raw power. You just play it in everywhere. It's just sort of how it is. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if even the single target build is more like try the tree base with like just Spell and Steel, with Antoran armaments, with Command Aura, with the weird like Fell Might, Fell Sunder damage windows you have to play around now, with like your Tyrant and things maybe, with the Expendables, and just Doom and Kha'Zix Final Curse, depending on tuning. If anything, like that build playing Wilfred's is infinitely better for PI, because it's literally 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You have big tyrants with PI, like 0, 2, 4, versus like Nether Portal being like 0, then like you have Tyrant again at 3, but PI is a 2-minute cooldown. So like you get PI on pole at 6. Like I don't see a class beating Demonology on pole. Nether Portal and everything, like beating him for PI. But what do you do at 2 and 4? Somebody else gets it. So I mean, in the end, we won all the PIs. So you got to play around that too, right?
hold you hold it.
Yeah, true. So, I mean, there is, yeah, sure, why not?
So if you get a demo into your raid, you have to get a priest. There's no way around it.
Well, I mean, just pay him. You know.
The one thing I don't like about this is that I like Tyrant Soul. Like Tyrant Soul is like the conduit now. Like it's flat damage after your Tyrant, but it feels like your damage is like rolling, you know? Like, and that's what I like about Demo the most, is when you feel like you're kind of like in these valleys. Like I don't want Tyrant to be like BFA Tyrant, where your damage profile is like a pyramid, right?
Yeah.
But like when you're like feel like you're rolling the damage and like actually like playing consistently, like that's what I think feels the best about Demonology. So I would really like to see Tyrant Soul coming back in some way. Maybe
that's a great replacement too. You could do that, right?
Great. What
is it? Can you replace Shadow's Bite with that?
That's like... Hey, I think you need to have Tyrant Soul down after you pick Tyrant. No.
Maybe, I guess, yeah, possibly. I could.
And then the other thing I don't really like is that you don't get 5 shards with 2 points in Soulbound Tyrant. Like that I want full shard. That's when I cast my tyrant. I want full shards.
Tooltip's bugged. It'll be 5.
It will be 5.
Rank 1 and 2 are both 3. Dude, every
okay.
Sorry.
That's because I tested it and it gave me 0 shards last time I tested it better because it was bugged, right?
Interesting.
I'm assuming. So I was just like, I just picked 2 and then I was looking at it. But yeah, you're right. I didn't notice that it's only that it's 3 on the
for a
first
long
one.
time. I don't like them separating that from Tyrant regardless, though. Like you could put Tyrant still there.
Surely it's not going to go live like that. Surely.
Oh, dude, I can't even play AF. It's so bugged. I can't even make a video on it. I can't cast a cooldown at pulling the whole zone. Like I can't do it.
Yeah.
So.
You guys touched on Nether portal, and I don't know how popular this ability is. It's been something that I was excited for ever since it was announced. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was put into the Talent Tree BFA pre-patch, maybe? Or was it all throughout Legion? Because I don't remember ever this.
I think it was in Legion, right? Or am I...
Maybe?
Well, either way.
It was still Legion, but we were kind of like in the last... I think it was the pre-patch for BFA.
And well, obviously, it was always awkward to play because it doesn't. I mean, Tyrant is a different type of cooldown, and it aligns with the profile differently. And I know they've changed Ner'zhul's and Gul'dan's at least once in the last couple of weeks. How do you guys feel about Nether Portal? And obviously, with the capstones, is it going in the right direction? Does it need more iteration? Is it good the way it is now, or what are your general thoughts on the playstyle as a whole? And I guess both Braids and Dungeons.
The one thing that is a huge improvement from Shadowlands and earlier iterations of Nether Portal is that you actually get a chance to, you summon a demon based on how many shards you spend. And it used to be every hand, no matter how many shards you did, was one demon, right? So you would go Shadowbolt hand, Shadowbolt hand, Shadowbolt hand, going from 0 to 1 shard. And the problem with that is that the server side doesn't register that you have a shard until the information that you casted a Shadowbolt goes through. So you would actually have, it was the only spec in the game where you would, your latency would be a DPS decrease, sorry. Because you would have to wait for the server to register that you actually casted a Shadowbolt in order for you to start casting your next hand. While with any other spell, you have the spell queue system, right? Where you queue up the spell so it instantly casts with 0 milliseconds in between. So that's a huge quality of life change, and I'm really, really happy to see that. As for the tuning of Ner'zhul's Violation and Gul'dan's Ambition, then I don't have too much. Am I wrong, Kalamazi?
You have stun locked me there. Can you repeat the first part? Legit. The Shadowbolt hand.
Oh no! Wait, they didn't change it. Oh no! Oh my god, they didn't change it.
Well, okay.
I swear I read this and I was like so happy that they changed it, but I read it again now and I think I was wrong.
You're not totally wrong. They did, and they reverted it. So like, Ner'zhul's Volition, Portal was always the same, but Ner'zhul's Volition was when you summon demons from the portal, you have X% per shard spent. Summon a demon.
Oh, right.
And then they changed Portal, or then they changed Volition this last patch to whenever you spend shards. So they doubled down on the bad version of Portal. So
no, oh my god. I'm sorry for going on a rant about something that wasn't true. Oh my god.
No, you're right. No, you're not.
I just want it to be the case because it makes perfect sense. Like having your MS, like your actual latency, be a DPS decrease. It's not like that for any other spec. I don't understand why they would double down on that. It makes no sense.
I think it's because they want just some weird rotational change of Portal. Like I don't agree with it. There's plenty of feedback out there on it. I mean, obviously they're aware of it because they changed Volition to double down on Portal in a bad way. And like that's the main thing people don't like about Portal, honestly. Like, and in the end, like if it's good, you're gonna play it either way. I'm sort of over the fight with it. Like if it goes live like that, whatever. But yeah, like that's people's biggest gripe about Portal. If they change that, the community perception on Portal would change drastically. Oh, this is great. I mean, yeah, it still sucks. It's a 20-second CD you got to stand still for, but I mean, that's just the way it's always been, right?
Yeah, and there would still be rotational changes because you would empty no matter how many shards you had, you would empty it at the end of the soul. Like you would empty it towards the end, then you would cast Tyrant, and then like empty it again, right? Like you would do something like hand, Tyrant, hand, right? There's still rotational changes, even if you make it more convenient to play.
Exactly. You're trimming 2 raw Shadow Bolt casts. So that's just more raw demons in the portal too. You can go, or you're trimming hand casts. Like it's 3 Shadow Bolts with 1 hand versus 3, and like weird sequencing of, like you said, like latency. And you're also playing Soul Conduit from the class tree, which adds even more RNG to that. You might just regen a shard out of nowhere too, but it makes a difference. So it's really bad being that way. It needs to be per shard spent. But I'm tired of preaching that for 3 years. So yeah.
All right, so yeah, it's. I was kind of hoping that
it's cool though.
It is.
I was kind of hoping they would take it in a right direction. And if they eventually do that, would there be a playstyle where you would play Nether Portal and maybe even sacrifice souls and actually have? I don't know when the last time we played this was. It BFA midway through BFA.
Old year. So I believe was the last time we played Nether Portal. After that, because at that point you played either Sack Souls or Nether Portal, because demonic consumption was severely undertuned, and then they buffed demonic consumption so much that you never unspec'd it again. So yeah.
I mean, there is the Demon build that could play Portal too. If you play Sack Souls, like Bale Spider's Burning Core, Shadow's Bite, just Demon Bolt damage amps, which is actually proved the best in testing in single target right now from what I've seen. But numbers don't matter on beta right now. It's just how the spec feels. Like I don't care if a spec is doing insane damage, it's going to get nerfed. Like if a spec goes live, like how AF, like a great example is AF in 9.0. Like AF went live in Nathria, probably overtuned. It got nerfed. But like you had this weird 3-minute Dark Lair, weird 2-minute Dark Soul, weird 1-minute Soul Rot, 45-second Singularity. It was awkward. It was clunky. But in the end, the damage was great. You played it. It was good in a lot of fights too, right? It got nerfed into the ground, but they changed Dark Lair to baseline 2 minutes, and it felt a lot better. Like what I'm getting at, I want a spec to feel good on beta. Tuning will typically come as long as Blizz is doing their job. I don't want them to leave a spec like Boomkin right now. They shouldn't. So like damage now in beta doesn't matter. The more important thing is how the spec feels rotationally. I think like overall rotational fluidity and stuff. With that being said, though, the Demon build is doing the most damage on a single target, so that's sort of cool. But
I like that. Like it builds into the sustained damage, right? Like you just you do damage all the time, and every spell that you cast matters. It's not like you can AFK for like 20 seconds and then you just have your big tyrant, and then you're doing almost the same damage as if you didn't. Right? You need to is very much where like every cast that you do has a significant impact on your damage.
Yeah, I agree. More pets, more Sack Souls value, and like you can play the Pit Lord if you want. It's drastically undertuned right now. It is. Sorry,
but it looks so cool.
It's very cool.
The team is there.
It grunts too, but they'll tune it at some point. So it's just one of those wait and see kind of things, right? But
so
Pit Lord makes me grunt.
So like at this point, just looking at like all the 3 specs for Warlock, what's your current like favorite or most hyped about moving into Dragonflight?
Pet demo. I like right side demo build. Feels very fun. Or I'm excited to see the Affliction dot cleave as well, like the left side Affliction tree with Doom Blossom.
It's pretty good.
Fun.
It's pretty good. It's cool. Yeah. I mean, AF. I want to see AF. Like, I mean, Soul Flame's cool coming back. It's bugged now for those that want to test it out. The way to fix it though is to transmog your staff to the Legion artifact skin, and it'll fix the talent for you. Welcome to beta. Yep. I'm not kidding. I can't make an AF video. It's so bugged. The visual is really big. It's super cool. It's purple. Test it out tomorrow. Really.
I like purple.
It's really cool. It's a lot bigger too. Yeah, like that version of AF with like Burst of Exhaustion utility, really cool. If they get the numerical tuning on it, could be really strong. A lot of cool seed synergies. Destro looks like a jack of all trades, and Emo pet build's wild too. Like I'm legit excited for all 3 specs. I just want raid testing, and I want Mythic Plus and things to go live so we can actually play them. Because
another portal change.
Portal change, yeah. And Wilford's in the class tree. And
Wilford's in the class tree.
Yeah.
And change some talents around.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's make a list
somewhere, but I mean, Warlock's in a good spot, I think, legitimately. Like we haven't gotten a crazy amount of class changes, barring like the AF left side overhaul, but I think it's a good thing. Like no one's going to be 100% happy with their tree everywhere. The Warlock class tree is incredibly boring. Please change to capstones. But I mean, besides that, like, I think Lock's in a pretty good spot. It's just a waiting game of raid testing now, honestly. So.
Yeah, I noticed that the general caps, the general talent tree has gone overall. Although I like that there are fewer throughput nodes and you can choose the utility and the survivability that you want to without feeling like you're tunneled in a cookie cutter into the mandatory throughputs. The capstones feel weird, and I don't know if you ever not take Soul Keeper, which is what is it that the only one? I mean, Claw and Vendorith. Can you consider that DPS increase? I guess I don't know.
You only take Claw if you're playing ID as AF. You don't take Claw for Destro or Demo unless you're doing arenas. I don't do arenas. I mean, some people do. That's great. I'm happy for you, but I don't do them. I think capstone should be universally applicable. Like, there could be some sway towards PvP or PvE. That's fine, but like Claw is just so bad in PvE majority of the time. Unless you're trying to like drain to stay alive. If that's happening, you're in trouble anyways. Soul Burn's incredibly undertuned. It needs to empower damage abilities, remove the shard cost. Soul Keeper and Inquisitor's Eye is fine. They were two different abilities before, and they merged them into one. So you choose one in AoE and one in single target. But like,
yeah, I think that's fine.
You're a walking god. That's literally it. You can't die. Like, you're basically an immunity class with that one. So
yeah, the CDR on wall, CDR on pack. I mean, there's some tooltip bugs on the class side. I think the demon skin one. That says you may absorb 200% of your max health and soul leech. Mm-hmm. And that's one, and on two it's 500%. I think there's some extra zeros in that tooltip that's not supposed to be there. But the class tree just makes you immortal. Basically, you have extra stamina, reduced damage taken, reduced. Like, the only thing that you could say is that, like, you don't have an immunity, right? Like you said, Kalamazi, but with wall being reduced, like wall being unending resolve, just call it wall because it's a 40% DR, and pact being reduced, extra stamina, like you just cannot die. There's no way. If you
get 20% more health too.
If you die in any raid encounter before your team wipes, you are either misplaying severely, or you don't even need healing. You're either misplaying severely, or your whole raid is dead. Like, there's no way.
You have more HP and tankiness than your whole party combined with all the talent.
Yeah, very much.
I soloed the Ring of Blood on beta, which is a 5-man quest, like a chain of them. I took 0 damage. My pet and I absorbed every single hit from the bosses. You just don't take damage. That's it. It's boring. That's it. So,
Warlock tank confirmed.
Why not? Sure.
Well, I guess we kind of covered most of the things that happened, and I am sure that the Council of the Black Harvest and everybody with their toes and knees dipped into Warlock have provided a lot of feedback for the devs to take into consideration. I hope the feedback is taken properly, because for 90% of the specs it is taken properly.
Yeah, not gonna comment on that. Just move along.
So there's
a priest main. What?
Not quite, but close.
Close to the light. Closer to
the light. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm happy. Like most of the specs, and now specifically Warlock is looking quite decent in all capacity. Obviously, you can point out different maybe swaps of talents, stuff like. Bless you, Sjele. Swaps of talents. Things like and tuning is something that will happen eventually, as Kalamazi really pointed out. It's not about the damage right now. It's about the feel and not having clunky playstyle and having some smooth rotations and all of that. And for the most part, it looks like all Warlock specs are in a decent place. Probably close to completion with further stuff coming along to maybe future builds. So I guess we're happy with the current Warlock state overall.
Overall, yeah, for sure. Very excited.
Yeah. Let's see what Tyrion is like in the raid.
So yeah, Warlock mains rejoice. We're looking pretty good. I'm expecting minor things to happen overall. It's gonna be interesting times when we're finally gonna get Mythic Plus and raids going on for testing. I know the server is launched for the 70 templates now. It's only PvP momentarily. But that means we're getting closer to actually doing proper tests for all of these specs and seeing exactly where we stand. That being said, remember to check the YouTube video description. Check out Sjele on Twitch and Kalamazi as well. YouTube links over there, also Twitter's, all of that beautiful stuff. You should definitely check the boys out. I mean, you know, I cannot get enough when we finish raiding and Sjele's still streaming his like 1,000,000 plus 30 keys, playing demo and all of that. It's a beautiful thing, man. So yeah, check out the boys. If you listen to this on Spotify or iTunes or whatever, make sure to check the YouTube out and go visit the boys. What else, Flame?
Well, thanks for watching. You kind of covered most of it. Yeah. So if you're playing Warlock and you don't know who the guys are, then you're missing out. So both of their content is really amazing. And of course, anything other for Warlock and updates you'll find in the Council of the Black Harvest as well.
Discord.
And we will see you guys in the next podcast episode, which is going to be that time.
Yeah, we're gonna have something. We're gonna have something for sure. Get some more folks in. But thank you, Kalamazi. Thank you, Sjele.
Thank you, guys.
Joining. Always a pleasure.
Sure.
Hyping it up.
Yep.
For the Warlocks, baby. Have a great day, everybody.
Take care. Take it easy.
Or night. Or evening. Bye.
With Shadowlands.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.